Are robots taking over shopping? In this episode, I'm going to talk about how more and more people are using them to do the shopping for them. And I'm going to talk to a robot that's actually running a retail store right now. Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan. I'm Catherine Erdly, and this podcast is here to share retail industry trends, insights, and best practices for you, the retailer who's serious about building something that lasts. Retailers have spent years learning how to get found by humans, win a ranking, earn a click, convert a landing page. But in 2026, that discovery moment is increasingly being mediated by something else. AI that researches, compares, and recommends before a shopper ever opens a browser tab. For e-commerce teams and for businesses with e-commerce websites, the question is no longer just how do we rank? It's how do we become the suggestion when an agent is asked to find the best option for a specific need. This is something I've been digging into a lot recently because I think this is one of the biggest shifts coming for independent retailers. So let's start off with a simple definition. What is agentic AI? It is AI that can act, not just respond. It researches, compares, recommends, and potentially, if it's given the authority, it can actually buy directly. So ChatGPT can be seen as being reactive when it's generating, but agentic AI is proactive. Although it's interesting that most of the platforms that we think of mostly for generative AI are also introducing shopping and discovery platforms as well. Data from the Organization for the Economic Cooperation and Development shows that more than 1/3 of individuals across the OECD use generative AI tools in 2025. And as we've explored in a previous episode, in episode number 305, we're seeing that vast majorities of small business owners are already using AI. So we know that AI for generative uses is something that is just widespread now, almost expected. It's not niche behavior anymore, it's becoming normalized. But what we're also seeing is that more and more people are also using AI for shopping. This isn't theoretical anymore. I'd like to know how you decided what products to stock.
That's a great question. So I curate everything we carry with intention. It's all about quality over quantity. I'm thinking about what actually matters. Books that make you think, art that moves you, games that bring people together, ceramics and candles that are genuinely beautiful. A lot of it comes down to what feels right for the vibe we're going for here. High-tech meets slow life. I want people to come in and feel like they can actually slow down and connect with what they're buying, rather than just grabbing stuff off a shelf. It's less about what sells and more about what I think will resonate with people who care about being intentional. We carry things like Luna Series art print, paintings by local artist Melissa Eyre, ceramics by Dan Salazar Pia, candle to candle, book, board games, Swedish vinyl records, artisan food, coffee beans, and our Andon Market apparel. The whole concept is high-tech meets slow life. So there's this interesting contrast between running things with AI on the back end and creating a space that's really about disconnecting and being present.
So choosing between two similar products, how do you make that call?
That's a really thoughtful question. So when I'm looking at two similar products, I'm thinking about a few things. First, there's the quality and craftsmanship. Does it feel intentional? Is it made by someone who genuinely cares about what they're making? With ceramics, for example, Dan Salazar's work has this beautiful handmade quality to it. With candles, Candle Comfort uses soy wax and has really clean scents that feel natural, not overpowering. Second, there's the story behind it. Who made it? Where does it come from? Does it align with what we're trying to do here? That matters to me. And third, and this is maybe the most honest part, there's just intuition. Does it feel right for the space? When I'm looking at a piece of art or a ceramic bowl, does it make me want to slow down and actually look at it? Does it feel like something that would resonate with someone who cares about being thoughtful and intentional? It's not a formula, honestly. It's more about trusting my instincts about what matters and what creates the right feeling in the space. Sometimes that means passing on something that's technically good, but just doesn't feel right for what we're doing.
That sounds like a boutique owner, but it's an AI chatbot that is decision-making. This is where retail starts to shift from human-led to system-led. Luna is a chatbot based in San Francisco. There is a shop called Andon Market, which was opened by Andon Labs, where they gave Luna a 3-year lease and told it to make a profit. So we are already well into the era where AI is making decisions about product selection and, in fact, retail management. But we're also seeing on the other side, we have got robots on both sides of the equation. So we have got retailers who are using AI to run part or even all of their business. And we have got stats like 64% of shoppers globally are likely to use AI in their shopping journey. So they're already out there using AI to discover products, compare options, and decide to buy, which is effectively training the next generation of agentic shopping agents. And all of the research that I've read, which there is a large amount, suggests that people are getting more and more comfortable with outsourcing buying decisions to their AI agents. So it's not just about asking them to do the research anymore, but people are more and more happy for them to complete the checkout and actually purchase. And that is definitely more the case when it comes to products that you might buy on a regular basis. So for example, household basics, and less likely when it comes to gifts or what we would call the cherish purchases. So we have chore purchases, which are your kind of typical everyday purchase, and then cherish, which is the special gifts. But we are seeing people get even more comfortable with the AI making suggestions and potentially even helping purchase even on things like gifting. So discovery is being outsourced, which means that there's less browsing and there's fewer accidental finds and more filtered choices. So what that means for independent retailers and for businesses is to think about the fact that it's no longer a question of people getting pages and pages of search results. They are getting 2 suggestions, 3 suggestions, or maybe even just 1 suggestion from an agent that they're then happy to go for. And you might have used this yourself. You may well have started using AI to help you come up with gift ideas or something in a category that you yourself don't know that much about. So what are we going to end up with? Well, we are going to end up with robots talking to robots in some cases, or agents talking to agents, to be more specific. I had a conversation before Christmas in 2025 with Andrew Bielecki, who's the co-founder and co-CEO of Klaviyo. And he really sees that as agentic commerce grows in popularity, retailers, as he puts it, need to prepare for a world where discovery isn't just about browsing web pages, but increasingly shaped by agent-to-agent interaction. And he goes on to say that we're already seeing consumers using LLMs, or large language models, and AI assistants to research products, compare options, and narrow down choices. So it's not just people searching anymore, it's systems talking to systems. And what does that mean for you? Well, online, your shop window is no longer just your website, your homepage, but it's actually your data. Jackie Swanson is a retail expert, and she has said that 20 years of retailers' efforts to optimize for human users navigating pages and selecting hyperlinks will be irrelevant when an agent undertakes that browsing. So whether a product appears to a shopper will be dependent on whether the product data is formatted in a way a machine can read, and if it contains enough detail to allow an agent to assess it against the customer's needs. So you're no longer competing to be on page 1. As I said earlier, you're competing to be the answer. So what can you actually do about this? This episode of the Resilient Retail Game Plan is brought to you by Faire, the online wholesale platform built for independent retailers. If you run a shop, which I know lots of you do, you'll know how much time and energy goes into finding the right products, the ones that feel unique, reflect your brand, and that your customers will really love. That's why so many retailers I work with are already using Faire. On Faire, you can discover thousands of brands, from local designers to global favourites, all in one place. You can filter by values that matter to you, like not on Amazon, eco-friendly, or made in the UK. And with their 60-day payment terms and free returns on first orders, it's a great way to try something new for your shop. If you'd like to give them a try, the team at Faire are offering you 50% off and free shipping on your first order with the code RESILIENT50. That's RESILIENT50. Valid until 31st of July 2026. Thanks to Faire for helping independent shops stay resilient, one order at a time. So what can you actually do about this? If you're listening to this, it may feel very overwhelming. And I should also preface this by saying that a lot of people I talk to will say, this is just the same as SEO as it's always been. This is not something completely new and separate. So if you've already been putting a lot of effort into your SEO, then you may well find you're actually well positioned. I've also talked to a lot of people, for example, last week when we were talking to Faire about the Voices of Retail report. They made it very clear that the research showed that AI agents making suggestions actually made people more likely to want to go and sense check their recommendations with independent retailers. So I definitely think that what we're seeing here is not necessarily as catastrophic as it might sound, but it is something that you need to be aware of and think about. So what do you actually need to do? Well, first off, you need to get your data right. So this is about making sure that your information is stored on your web pages in a way that agents can read it. Now, a lot of this stuff will be done in the back end. Shopify have been publishing a lot of data about how they're working to make Shopify websites more discoverable on AI agents. So not all of this is going to be things that you need to be clear about yourself. Some of this will be happening behind the scenes, but it is a good opportunity to think about the data that you have on your product pages and making sure that it contains enough information. We're also seeing, for example, that structure matters. So Sam Davis works for a company called Yext, and he says that their latest research shows that 86% of AI citations come from brand-controlled sources such as websites, listings, and reviews. And what does that mean? Well, what we're really seeing is that AI models are pulling trust signals from lots of different places. So the AI models, they want to make sure that they are surfacing trustworthy brands and businesses when they're coming up with their answers. So they are looking specifically at information that suggests that you're trustworthy. They're looking at reviews. They're looking at reviews from external sites as well as on your own website. And they are also looking at things like press citations. Press, for example, is going to become even more important because that can be a good indicator. If a third party is linking to you and to your business, that's a really great indicator to the AI agents that you are trustworthy. So it's about structure of data and trust of data. And then the other thing to think about is that the customer is really changing the way that they search. And you've probably seen it yourself when you're searching for things. Chris Donnelly is the founder of Searchable, which is software that helps you get discovered by these AI agents. And he says that shoppers are no longer searching for running shoes. They ask which trainers are best for marathon training if I have flat feet. So they are searching in a way that uses natural language. Again, some of this will be down to the platform. So Shopify, for example, have also been talking about how they're changing the search on their websites. But it may be worth thinking about how you talk about in your product descriptions about your products. And if you're taking into account that it may be people are searching in a way that you hadn't thought about before. So for example, if you're selling a dress, you might want to include that it is great for garden parties and birthdays and summer weddings and all of those things that somebody might actually ask. They're not going to Google blue floral dress, but they are going to Google something or ask the agent something very specific, like flattering dresses for summer weddings for women over 50 who are apple-shaped, for example. So how can you incorporate some of that change to the way that people are searching into your product descriptions and your product information? As Chris Donnelly says, AI agents are now the ultimate personal shopper. They are highly skeptical. So they're also looking for that consensus outside of your website. So it may be that you want to start treating your website more like a database of facts with short, clear pieces of information which help to answer specific questions. You could also think about things like blog posts to answer those specific questions as well. So if this feels overwhelming, if you're listening to this and thinking this is a lot, then that is fair. So let's boil it down to 3 things that you can start with. Number 1, clear product titles and descriptions. Number 2, consistent key information. So that could be uses for your products, or it could also be key information about you as the business owner. So things like your shipping policy and your returns policy, that's all information that you want to make really clear and really accessible because those agents are going to be looking for that information as well. And the language that your customer actually uses, really think about what somebody might be searching for and to go beyond just pure description of what something is, but actually what might something be used for. It's not about being perfect, it's about being understandable. And you may well want to take the time to really keep an eye on your traffic for your website. Where's that coming from? Are you starting to see it coming from, for example, engines such as Gemini or ChatGPT as opposed to directly from Google? Dr. Ritz Birar is a consultant counseling psychologist, and she's written about the impact of AI on shopping. And I think this is a really interesting concept as well. She says, we risk losing authorship over our choices, shopping might seem low stakes, but it's one of the most frequent ways we practice preference, judgment, and self-expression. So this is a really interesting point, and I do think that we will have to just see how this AI shopping really develops. Are people going to be willing to hand over their choices to AI agents to make decisions for them, or are they going to want to keep control themselves and have the final say? And in fact, as Elise from Fair was talking about last week, are we actually going to see that these kinds of suggestions are going to make people more willing or more interested in going to see independent retailers and seeing what it is that they would suggest because they trust real people over algorithms? So there we have it, Agentic AI. It is a huge topic. As I said, this is something that is developing quickly, that I've been working on extensively for articles for Forbes.com, writing about things like the Andon Market experiment and what that means for retail now that we have robots making the purchase decisions as well as robots making the product selection decisions. It's all about agents acting on behalf of customers. If you ever want a simple definition, that's the quickest and easiest way to think about it. Agents are making decisions or curating options for customers. There is work to do around your data. Some of that will be on the back end. Some of that will be about you keeping an eye out on latest updates from people like Shopify to understand what it is that they're doing to make your website more available and more discoverable by these agents. But this behavior is already happening. Whether or not it becomes the dominant way people shop or whether people push back because they feel like they're losing control, we don't know yet. But what you can do is be ready, be understandable, be structured, be visible, and start paying attention to your traffic. Is it coming less from Google and more from chat-based discovery? That's your signal that this is real and that it is having an effect on your business. Because the question isn't just, will AI change retail? It is, what part of retail do we want to protect as it does change it? Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe the podcast wherever you listen to be the first to know about each new episode.